people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Reigning IBF super lightweight champion Subriel Matias says he would love the opportunity to face Gervonta Davis, and I'm sure that he would, but it's an opportunity I do not think he will be afforded. Put simply, Subriel Matias, unlike some other fighters, he's too much of a high risk and a low reward, even if he is a champion. So what? Gervonta Davis don't care about titles, full titles. If he cared about titles, he would have made more of an effort to get George Kambosos in the ring or Devin Haney.
You don't care about belts.
Although they currently fight in different weight classes, Davis did make the trek 5 pounds north in 2021, north of lightweight to super lightweight, to take on Mario Barrios. In doing so, Davis snapped the WBA regular super lightweight title by becoming the first man to stop Barrios in their encounter. Considering that Davis is now in need of fresh meat, Matias would not only thoroughly enjoy facing the pound-for-pound star, quote-unquote pound-for-pound, but more than anything, the Puerto Rican native believes that he has the overall skills to taint Davis's record. Congrats, champ, said Matias on his social media account. I would love to take your 0 and add it to my knockout percentage.
You often hear it said that styles make fights, and it just so happens that Gervonta Davis, he has the right style for an aggressive mid-range to inside puncher like a Subriel Matias. He has the right style, he just ain't got the right size.
Gervonta Davis is a boxer-puncher, more specific, a counter-puncher, whereas Subriel, he's your according to Hoyle mid-range to inside pressure fighter.
Yeah.
Boxer-punchers tend to have an advantage over pressure fighters, specifically counter-punchers, because pressure fighters open up quite a bit.
They're open to be hit.
Open to be countered because the signature of a pressure fighter is volume, activity, throwing punches in bunches. These are fighters that are aggressive and are not afraid to let their hands go.
The stylistic advantage that the boxer-puncher has over that pressure fighter is that they're not afraid to let their hands go either, intermittently, picking their battles, picking their moments, creating a bit of space at times to land with authority.
The boxer-puncher, more so than the pure boxer, can actually use that pressure fighter's aggression against them.
Because in some ways they have the best of both. They have the aggression of the pressure fighter and the fundamental boxing of the pure boxer. By alternating between the two, they have a stylistic advantage over a pressure fighter.
Well, normally they do, but in a situation like this one, where you're talking about a guy who's better suited to campaign as a lightweight and a guy who campaigns at super lightweight, a sizable puncher at super lightweight, an aggressive one, a strong one.
He's killed a man before.
Maxim Dadashev, what was that, 2? Maybe 3 years ago?
Gervonta might have the right style for the job, but he ain't got the size.
That's reality. Size, at some point. Size matters.
It all depends on who we're talking about. We're talking about Subriel Matias, one of the biggest and devastating punchers in today's super lightweight division. A credible threat to any and every super lightweight, let alone a lightweight like Gervonta.
Are you kidding me? Gervonta Davis's handlers, they know better. They know better than to play around with this guy.
They needed a rehydration clause for both Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia, for Christ's sake.
And you think they're going to tangle with this guy? I don't think so. Subriel Matias and Gervonta Davis may box under the same banner on the same platform.
They're not going to fight this guy. They'd sooner fight Isaac Cruz again or Rolly Romero. That's super lightweight.
But not this guy. Not for his IBF title. They don't care about titles. They'd be better off boxing Devin Haney for all of his at lightweight than messing around with this guy.
That's super lightweight.
Too often in boxing, popularity in and of itself, and emotion hinders the objectivity of the spectator in what is this spectator sport. And Gervonta Davis ain't got it for a guy like Subriel Matias. He just doesn't.
One mountain, it's too high to climb.
You think a guy who needs 12 rounds to stop Yuriorkis Gamboa,
Right.
a guy who couldn't stop a garden gnome in Isaac Cruz, you think a guy like that can keep Subriel Matias off of him?
You want drugs?
What are you going to tell me? He stopped Ryan Garcia? Who the fuck is Ryan Garcia?
There you go, confusing popularity with ability again. Yeah, Ryan's a way more popular guy than Subriel Matias, but he's in no way, shape, or form as dangerous.
Gervonta Davis will not oblige him. Do not expect to hear any announcement of a Gervonta Davis versus Subriel Matias fight. And I'll tell you something, Subriel Matias is going to be facing a problem moving forward. He may have been crowned a champion in his last fight opposite the Ring Argentina's own Jeremiah Ponce, a then unbeaten fighter who Subriel beat into submission.
Subriel Matias might have seen himself crowned IBF champion in his last fight, but moving forward, he's gonna have a problem.
Here's a problem. Word around the campfire is that Regis Prograrius has inked a deal with Matchroom, and they're set to announce it very soon. If that intel checks out, and Regis is over there on the Matchroom side of things, that's one less champion for Subriel Matias to fight. To my knowledge, nobody at the PBC has made Regis an offer to do that Matias fight.
To my knowledge, they haven't, so if nobody offered that guy any money, makes it that much easier to go to Matchroom.
Nobody at the PBC, I should say. It's my understanding that he's held meetings with both Top Rank and Matchroom, and he decided to go with Matchroom. No word about the PBC offering him anything.
So Matias won't have him to unify with.
His old buddy Alberto Puello, not that he had any intentions of facing him, he just lost his WBA title. Now, the vacant title is set to be on the line in the upcoming Rolly Romero versus Ismael Barroso fight.
I think Rolly's gonna win that fight. I think he's gonna become WBA champion, and when he does, do you think Rolly Romero's gonna fight this fucking guy?
No way. He'd sooner use that newly obtained WBA title as leverage to get a Gervonta Davis rematch. He's not fighting Subriel Matias.
Which means Matias can't fight for the WBC title, can't fight for the WBA.
Got absolutely no leverage in the situation when it comes to the WBO. The WBO title that Josh Taylor still has, he's over there at Top Rank.
Where Subriel Matias used to fight.
I think in the coming days and weeks and months, I think in the coming year, Subriel Matias will quickly find that he is the odd man out.
Dry spell.
You're gonna see a lot of Haymanites, a lot of PBC shills castigating Regis Prograrius for not doing more to get Subriel in the ring, when last I checked, Regis was the free agent, not Subriel. If Subriel wants a Regis Prograrius fight, call your manager and tell him to call Al and let Al make the offer.
Let Al make the fight.
To my knowledge, nobody at the PBC has offered to bring Regis Prograrius over.
Nobody on Matias' team has sent Regis Prograrius an offer to come over to Showtime and unify titles. Nobody.
So if nobody's offered to do the fight and pay for it, how the hell's it supposed to happen?
Those bozos who want to sit online all day playing the blame game, it's a fairly simple situation to understand. Matias fights on Showtime.
Did anybody at Showtime offer to bring Regis Prograrius over for that fight? Because if nobody did,
Matias is fucked.
he's fucked.
Fucked.
Gervonta Davis ain't gonna give him the time of day. Neither will Rolly Romero if he ends up winning the WBA title.
Matias is fucked.
And if nobody on Matias' side offered to pay for the Prograis fight, he's double fucked.
Triple fucked, since the WBO title is on the Top Rank side of things.
I ain't got nothing against Subriel Matias. I'm just characterizing the situation that lies ahead based on the landscape.
He's fucked.
Looks to me like he's going to be the odd man out for a while. Title or no title.
Gervonta won't fight him. Gervonta Davis, whose trainer Calvin Ford said, they never talk about Tank's defense. It was unreal against Ryan Garcia, but would it be unreal against Subriel Matias?
I don't think so. He couldn't discourage Isaac Cruz, a pressure fighter the size of a garden gnome. He couldn't discourage him from coming forward, but he's going to discourage Subriel Matias.
Hell no.
Now, Calvin Ford feels that Davis's defense was instrumental in neutralizing Garcia on Saturday night at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Davis dropped Garcia twice, but he also limited the effectiveness of Garcia's trademark left hook and restricted Garcia to landing 24% of his punches overall, according to CompuBox's unofficial statistics. They never talk about Tank's defense, Ford told BoxingScene.com. If you go look at CompuBox and look at how many punches Ryan was throwing and how many really landed clean, Tank's defense was unreal.
Even when Davis wasn't throwing punches.
Gervonta Davis himself, as far as boxer punchers and counter punchers go, he's not the most prolific puncher. He often sacrifices rounds.
Not all boxer punchers are created equal. Some are more prolific than others. Others focus on efficiency and countering.
That's Gervonta. And if you're not a prolific puncher, you're not a busy puncher, how the hell are you supposed to keep Matias off of you?
Never mind Ryan Garcia.
Garcia did connect on 42% of his power punches, but Ford could only recall Garcia landing one flush left hook to Davis' head during 6 rounds of action. He took it like a champ, Ford said, of Garcia's connection in the second round. That was the only one. CompuBox counted 30 of 63 power punches overall, 48% for Baltimore's Davis.
What CompuBox doesn't provide is context.
What context is missing in CompuBox's punch stats from the Davis versus Garcia fight? It's that Ryan Garcia was largely unproven. Little more than just a prospect who's very popular due to his social media following. That's the context.
While Calvin Ford sings Gervonta Davis's praises for how he performed opposite the ring, a prospect.
You read through CompuBox's punch stats, that's the context that's missing. We started seeing things that he couldn't do, so we started exploiting those things, Ford said, regarding Garcia. And certain shots we worked on in camp, Tank demonstrated, and boom, caught him in the second round. And then after that, Garcia went into a shell for a little bit, and stopped opening up in the third, fourth rounds. Then he started opening back up again in 5 and 6. And when it came to the 6th, I told Tank, stop playing, let's go. Tank started turning it up. That's the main thing. When you have a great fighter that he is, he still listens to his team and goes out there and push those buttons that we need to be pushed. That's a salute for me. It's like, okay, he's still listening.
The matchmaking is the key to Gervonta Davis's success. They primarily match him against guys that are going to give up their height, give up their reach, guys that are going to open up,
step into their punches, and step within range of Gervonta Davis's counters. Because Gervonta Davis,
he's not a big guy.
Put him in there with these aggressive guys that are going to open up, which feeds into Gervonta Davis's counter punching.
And it's worked so far.
Wouldn't work with Matias, though.
As stated, Gervonta Davis was unable to discourage Isaac Cruz, a much smaller pressure fighter than Subriel Matias. He was unable to discourage him from coming forward, even though he won the fight.
He didn't stop Isaac Cruz, and he didn't stop Isaac from coming after him. Isaac is a lot smaller than Subriel Matias.
Subriel is a full-grown 140-pounder with full-grown grown man strength.
Probably beating a dead horse by saying this, but that fight is not going to happen.
No way.
Boxer puncher can play the boxer against an aggressive opponent, but a boxer puncher can't really play the boxer against the pure boxer. A defensively minded, economic, poised, patient, long-range fighter.
That's their kryptonite.
For a boxer puncher to get to a pure boxer, they've got to tweak things a bit. They've got to up the tempo, up the volume, be aggressive. Gervonta Davis, not being a very prolific puncher, it's really only 1 or 2 shots at a time with him.
Some fighters, they got hybrid styles.
Some fighters. A boxer puncher can try to mimic a pressure fighter. Pressure fighters who have a stylistic advantage over pure boxers.
Some boxer punchers can do this, not all. Some boxer punchers can mimic a pressure fighter when opposite the ring a pure boxer, because that pure boxer don't like volume.
Pure boxer don't like pressure. Think Canelo Alvarez, a boxer puncher with an affinity for counterpunching who can at times mimic a pressure fighter.
Like what he did in the Caleb Plant fight, like what he did in the Billy Joe Saunders fight.
Those are 2 pure boxers. Canelo Alvarez comes forward, catching and shooting behind a high guard, baiting his opponents to throw so he can counter what they throw, whilst applying pressure. This is one way that boxer punchers can try to mimic, at least mimic, a pressure fighter. I'm not sure that Gervonta Davis...
It's very economic.
Often sacrificing rounds, waiting for a window of opportunity to open to get off a big counter shot. I'm not sure that he can make that adjustment.
Which is why his team is so hesitant to put him in there with a pure boxer, a slickster, because he'd have to. He'd have to make that adjustment.
They seem unsure that he can. Pure boxers and slicksters like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney.
You have to give chase with them.
Pure boxer could make Gervonta Davis look very human, and a pure boxer, that base style, he hasn't come up against that yet.
That's by design. That's deliberate.
Some fights are a lot more realistic for Gervonta Davis than others, but you don't need me to tell you that.
He's not about to fight Matias, Haney, or Stevenson.
And finally, in men's lightweight news, Devin Haney says, I'm better than Vasyl Lomachenko in every aspect and every attribute. A statement I don't necessarily agree with, though I don't take issue with either.
Because it's not like he's barking from behind the fence. He's about to fight this guy.
The undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney is the betting favorite to beat the former 3-division champion Lomachenko simply because the bookies believe Haney possesses more talent. There is nothing that Loma can do better than me. I'm better than him in every aspect, every attribute, Haney said in an interview with BoxingScene.com and other reporters.
That has yet to be determined.
Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney are very different fighters. And because they're different, that's why I don't agree with that statement. I don't think Devin is a better combination puncher than Vasyl Lomachenko, or even a bigger puncher. Even though Loma is the naturally smaller fighter, he's proven to be more of a knockout merchant than Devin.
So I don't necessarily agree with Devin's statement, but I don't take issue with it either, because he, unlike some other fighters, is willing to step into the fire, willing to put himself to the test.
We have to see what version of Loma shows up. I'm prepared for whatever he brings to the table. I've been studying Loma for years, and now I'm dissecting him. I know what type of Loma will show up, and we're going to be ready for what he brings. The 24-year-old Haney will have several advantages when it comes to the tail of the tape against Lomachenko, who is 11 years his senior, standing in at 5'8".
Devin Haney is officially 1 inch taller than Vasyl Lomachenko, but judging by the naked eye, it appears to be a bit more. Haney will also sport a near 6-inch reach advantage.
By the time Devin Haney rehydrates and steps into the ring, he should appear to be even more physically imposing.
There's a lot being made about that, the discrepancy in height, the discrepancy in reach, the discrepancy in size, but what people are forgetting is that Devin Haney's base style...
He may be bigger than Vasyl Lomachenko, but he's not more physically imposing. Quite the opposite. He's an outside fighter.
He's not a physically imposing pressure guy.
I'm a big lightweight at the end of the day, said Haney. He has fought taller guys, but at the end of the day, size doesn't matter when you get in that ring. We're both going to weigh in at 135. Loma has fought bigger guys.
Yes.
The best man is going to win that night, and it's going to be me.
A lot of people are making a lot of Devin Haney's height and his reach, the advantages that he has, the natural advantages he has over Vasyl Lomachenko, forgetting that he's a pure boxer. He's not an action fighter.
He's not an action guy. He's not a knockout merchant either. Those are Vasyl Lomachenko's areas of strength. He's more of a knockout merchant than Devin, and he's more of an action fighter.
It's not a situation where Devin Haney is going to take it to Vasyl Lomachenko. It's the opposite.
With each training camp and each fight, I am getting better. It's a blessing. My body is maturing, and I am getting stronger. I'm 24 years old now, and my man's strength is definitely coming in. I feel great. I am excited. I am a hungry young lion who is going into his prime and ready for whatever he brings. And it is true that Devin is entering his prime, whereas Vasyl Lomachenko may be leaving it. Does he have one last hoorah? One last big performance?
That's what makes this fight so intriguing, the contrasting styles.
The height differential, the discrepancy in size between the fighters. There are a lot of interesting aspects of this match.
Devin Haney's better on the outside than he is on the inside. The trial for Devin is keeping Vasyl Lomachenko at arm's length while managing the distance. For Loma, it's the opposite. He's got to close it.
He's got to try to close the distance on Devin Haney to get off shots, mid-range to inside, where Devin is more vulnerable.
It's a fascinating fight.
A few years ago, I would have picked Vasyl Lomachenko comfortably to beat Devin Haney, but after a few years and now that Loma is in his mid-30s, it's a closer fight than it was.
Devin was greener back then, and Vasyl Lomachenko...
He was younger, closer to his prime.
To me, this is must-see TV. This is high-level boxing.
No catch weights, no rehydration clauses, no weight stipulations.
Just two guys who want to prove who's the best.